Hello. Joining us now, we have Jim Cozzolino. Jim, I want to thank you for coming down and spending some time with us.
My pleasure.
So, resident of Arizona?
Yes, 12 years.
Feel free to jump in. Whatever you want to start with, and let's take it away.
Well, my history goes back about 12 years ago. There were a lot of deputies that are considered disgruntled employees that didn't like what Joe Arpaio was doing as sheriff, or Chief Deputy Hendershot, which actually runs the sheriff's department. And Roy Ryer was a lieutenant that became a dime dropper. And in the interim of being a dime dropper, he was outcast. And Roy approached me way back when, 12 years ago, and asked me if I was interested in starting Arpaio.com. And Arpaio.com, we started 12 years ago, which became a drop zone for employees that were disgruntled or didn't like what was going on to actually go and post and start making public the things that were going on. And over the years, Arpaio.com has grown quite considerable. It's become a website that people go to post information, stories.
Concerns.
It's just become a deposit bank for everything that concerns Joe Arpaio and the Sheriff's Department over the last 12 years.
So you got that developed, and that was the first stage, really, for the first disgruntled employee coming out of the Arpaio regime, came to you.
So Roy and I started that, and because of the situation and knowing what was going on and how things were becoming so corrupt with Arpaio and his, as he calls it, his sheriff department, we started getting involved in other things. I got involved at the time with Tom Barrett when Tom Barrett was running against Arpaio. And what happened at that point, we started to campaign. They put Tom under surveillance. They put me under surveillance. We found out, I was in fact told by Tony Ortega of the New Times, a reporter, that my phone was being tapped. We talked to the FBI at the time. The FBI thought that my phone was being tapped as well. They were taking my trash late at night. They were just following my family around. They were trying to figure out what we were doing, trying to dig up dirt on us, as they were with Tom Barrett. So we went through Tom Barrett's campaign. Tom didn't get elected, but we were hounded pretty good through that whole situation.
Menaced.
Menaced is a better word, you're right.
Yeah.
So that election ended. Arpaio.com continued on. I was once a licensed private investigator here in Arizona, so I started digging. And I started digging into the Pink Short money. I started digging into the Memorial Brick Fund money that had sloppy accounting and seemed to be money missing. I met with the Jail Enhancement Committee that they didn't know about, but myself and a couple of deputy sheriffs came in from Houston, Texas, and we actually met with the Jail Enhancement Committee and went through a budget, and we were looking at where the money was being spent and how it was being spent. And so I started creating dossiers. I started creating investigative reports on aviation fuel money that was disappearing and the improper use of the MCSO helicopter by David Hendershot. And the one thing that all these various investigations all had in common when it came to missing money and sloppy accounting was David Hendershot. All this money was going into shoeboxes and being put on David Hendershot's desk, and from that point on, nobody knows what happened to it. So it didn't take a brain to figure out, when you have so many various areas within this organization that can't account for all this money, and there's only one person handling it.
Right.
Gee, where's it going?
Yeah, where's it going?
Right. So I stayed involved as far as the investigative side of it went, and I kept looking into things and kept interviewing people and building files on what was going on. And then we fast forward to the next election. Bobby Ayala decided to run against Joe Arpaio. And so Bobby asked me to become his campaign manager. And I agreed, and we went out and ran Bobby against Joe Arpaio.
Ran a clean campaign?
Ran a very clean campaign. Arpaio refused to debate him, but that's Arpaio's MO. He's just...
Yeah, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah, he don't talk to anybody. He doesn't figure he has to answer to anybody. Right. So we ran a good campaign. I think we got 41% of the vote. It wasn't enough, but
41%.
we still did okay. You know,
Nice.
we made a good charge at it.
Because they had the dirty tactics machine going against you.
No, that's their MO. That's their MO. That's how they operate. There's no clean fighting with them. They don't. Honesty is not part of their repertoire at all. So that campaign came and went, and which was fine. And then about, I think it was in 2002, I purchased the Fountain Hills Bowling Center. And it was a little 12-lane house bowling center up in Fountain Hills. And I took my savings, my life savings, and I bought this center. And it was something that my family and I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a professional bowler. I've had a PBA card for many years.
Sweet.
And so we bought this center, and I spent a lot of money remodeling it, had lanes refinished and machines rebuilt. And
Did it right.
Did it right. And I hired the right staff, or at least I thought I did at the right time. But I hired the staff, and we were building leagues, and we were doing things. And Fountain Hills happens to be where Joe Arpaio lives.
Wow.
And it also happens to be the jurisdiction of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department.
Because is it county or something?
Yes.
Yeah, it's county.
They contract, it's a city, but they contract to the Sheriff's Department for law enforcement.
Okay.
So, at any rate, one night we had closed, and my bar manager, on his day off, happened to be in the bowling center, and came in, I guess, around 8, 9 o'clock at night, and started drinking and got pretty drunk. And he left for a while, and then he came back, which I didn't know, but he just got extremely drunk. And the center was operating, our hours were closed, so we closed the center. And he was still there, but he was somewhat docile, everything was fine. My league coordinator was there, a female by the name of Melody Nordman. And they were in the bar area talking, and everything seemed fine. I grabbed all the various register receipts and went into my office and was doing my final accounting and for the day and making deposits. And then all of a sudden I started hearing screaming and a commotion, and then like somebody gurgling. So I jumped up out of my seat. I ran in from my office. I ran into the bar, and Bob LaChance had Melody Nordman by the throat with both hands and had her up against the wall, and her feet were off the ground, and he was strangling her.
All right.
And I just went, whoa. And I jumped into the middle of it, and I was able to break his grip loose, at which time she dropped. He grabbed me and threw me across the floor. Bob LaChance is probably 5'10", 5'11", but he's built like a pit bull. He's a professional boxer, been a professional boxer for 10, 12 years.
Nice.
And she had taken off, so she got up and she took off through the bowling alley. Bob went after her, was chasing her, and it was a violent situation. I ran back to my office and grabbed a firearm. At the time, I was a DPS firearms instructor.
Fully licensed?
Fully licensed. I had a CCW permit, and I taught concealed weapon classes for DPS.
Okay, yeah.
And joined the chase.